Welcome everyone. We'll get this session underway. Thank you for coming. This session is entitled Sustainable Income of an Indigenous Community of Torgar, Pakistan, a Viable Tool for Poverty Reduction. And today's presenter is Mr. Tahir Rashid of the Sustainable Youth Specialist Group, Central Asia and Lead, Pakistan. I understand there's going to be an opportunity for questions at the end of the presentation. We've got about a half an hour to use, to play with. Can you all join me in thanking, in welcoming Mr. Rashid?
Thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen, and good afternoon. Ladies and gentlemen, you know, I am from a country which is geopolitically is very sensitive, and you have heard a lot of you have not heard very good news from my part of the country, but today I'm going to share with you a story, a saga, a tale that has really impacted a very significant impact in the realm of natural resource management. Ladies and gentlemen, Pakistan, though it's in a real turmoil nowadays, but it's the land of biological and ecological contrast. It's a wonderful country, ladies and gentlemen. So if you talk about the civilization, we are the custodians of one of the largest civilization, one of the oldest civilization of the world, and that is called the Mehergarh, then the Mohenjo-daro, then the Harappas. When you talk about the natural resources, we are the custodians of one of the largest, one of the high climax mammals in the world, and that's the snow leopard. You know, the snow leopard is the climax mammal, and we are very fortunate that we have. You know, when you talk about the geological diversity, Pakistan is the only country that has the sea level, and that has the one of the second highest roof of the world, and that is called the K2. When you talk about the, and definitely we have the Dravidians race there, we have the Aryans race there, so a very diverse culture. We have Kalashis there, Pashtuns there, Baloch, Punjabis, and so on and so forth. Number of languages and number of diverse cultural groups. So a very diverse country as far as the biological resources are concerned. I will just what you can say, I will be very brief about the significance of the ICCAs. When I say ICCAs, Indigenous Community Conserved Areas, and I also belong to one of the indigenous ICCA. So, and then definitely the Torgar, what is Torgar and how Torgar has emerged as one of the successful models in the world. And then achievements to date, what are the challenges? You know, when challenges are always there. So that's why I'm here under this roof to learn from your experiences, and definitely I will share mine one with you. And then what are our thoughts and future plans? And I will also discuss with you. So that will be basically my presentation. Ladies and gentlemen, when you talk about the natural resources of Pakistan, look at the low altitude animal, and that's also very threatened species, and that is called green turtle. That is called green turtle. Green turtle comes to Pakistan and lays eggs, and then definitely it's one of the Pakistan is one of the habitat, the Gwadar beaches, the Karachi beaches, the Sindh coastal areas. And then as I mentioned, this is the snow leopard, and that is the high altitude animal. And Pakistan again is one of the fortunate countries that has the lowest diversity, and then the climax diversity, and very few countries have that particular things. When you talk about the ecological zones, we have the 9 ecological zones in Pakistan, and again very diverse. We have the 4 seasons. There are very few countries that have the 4 seasons in the world, and Pakistan is blessed. Pakistan is among those countries. So look at, it's a beautiful country. If you see how, if you just see the Pakistan, it's just like a ladder. So this is the coast, and that's highest point is the K2. So we have the alpine forest, then subtropical forest, then tropical forest, and then we have the subalpine deserts and mangrove forests. So it's a beautiful country with a very, very diverse type of ecological zones, ecological diversity, biological diversity, and the cultural diversity. And when you talk about the indigenous management systems, yes, we are the custodians. For instance, one is called SAK. SAK is basically a protected area. Then Pargod. Pargod is also a protected area. Then Rak, Pahtik, Hajati. These are certain indigenous management systems which are very, very viable in Pakistan. And then Mirozai and Gram. Let me share one thing with you. We are also custodians of one of the oldest water management system, and that is called Karez management system. And for the last 4,000 years, we are managing, protecting, and conserving this particular management system, and that is called the Karez management system. There are a number of myths also. For instance, fairies are the custodians of the natural resources. For instance, don't pollute the rangelands, don't pollute the protected area, and it's very fatal for the people and for the area also. So on and so forth, because of the limited time. So now I will go to the Torgar. Where is Torgar? Torgar is one of the largest provinces of Pakistan, and that is called Balochistan. It's only 120 kilometers towards the northwest of Quetta, the capital of Balochistan, and it's a wonderful area, 1,800 square kilometer area, where we started the program. When we conceived the idea, that was 1984, and that idea was conceived by a filmmaker, a local filmmaker called Sardar Nasir Tareen. He was the man. When he went for the filming, there was nothing, and when he talked to the communities, okay, let's join hands to conserve and protect the natural resources. So this idea was conceived and coined in 1984, and then we started a program called Torgar Conservation Program, TCP, in 1985. In 1994, we registered that particular organization with the name of Society for the Torgar Environmental Protection, that is called STEP. And this is the map. This is the map of the area. This is Balochistan. This one is the Balochistan, and this is the Torgar area. You can see the blackish area, and that's the 1,800 square kilometer area. It's a wonderful area, ladies and gentlemen. Wonderful area. We have two endemic species. One is called Suleiman Markhor. This is the Suleiman Markhor. That was near to extinct. When I say extinct, it means it was going to extinct. So that particular species is called Suleiman Markhor, and this is called Afghan Oriole. This is basically a wild goat, and this is a wild animal. Basically, let me share, this is the national animal of Pakistan, and fortunately this is the national bird of Pakistan, and both these animals and birds are in my protected area, and that is called the community protected area. That's the Torgar area. It's again number of critical endangered species. It's a watershed. It's a beautiful area, and you can see the beauty of the area. You can see the animal in the wilderness. So again, the area belongs to the Jalalzi Pashtuns, Pathans. Pathans basically, they are the nomadic people. Now they are the transhumans. Basically they have settled, but they also go in few months to Afghanistan, and then again. That is their lifestyle, and that's the typical lifestyle of a nomadic society. So, and you can see the beauty, and you can see the local people, so how they live and how they, what you can say, earn from that particular area. Beautiful area. And then, now what we did, that we engaged the community. We asked them, look guys, conserve it, protect it, and then we will market it. They protected, they conserved, and then definitely we marketed the first trophy, and the trophy was of $6,500 US. And now we are marketing 4 Suleiman Markhors at the cost of $65,000 US. Ladies and gentlemen, $65,000 US will be nothing in Australia or US or in any developed country, but it's a big amount of money when you talk about any developing country, a country like Pakistan and province like Balochistan. So we are hunting with them, and so far these are the trophy hunts. The people come from Europe, the people come from America, the people come from South America, and they hunt the trophy, and this is also a trophy. And what happened with the trophy, that we linked their livelihood. We linked their livelihood with the conservation. So when they saw incentives, ladies and gentlemen, so they started conserving and protecting the area with full conviction. So this is a very, very interesting story. When we started the program, the animals, the markhor, the Suleiman markhor, they were less than 100. Now we have the largest population on earth. Ladies and gentlemen, let me remind, we have the largest population of Suleiman markhor on earth in any wilderness area. In any wilderness, I'm not talking about the ranches, I am talking about the wilderness area. When we started the program, Oriole was less than 200. Now we have the largest population on earth. Again, the Oriole. So not only we increase their livelihood, but we conserve two endangered species, two very, very endangered species. So now their population is viable. You can say the Oriole. This is a wilderness, this is a picture taken by me, and this is Torghar. And you can see how what you can say, safely they are in that particular area. And this is Suleiman markhor, and you can see hundreds of animals when you visit, or anybody can visit there. So far we have generated 1.7 million US dollar from that particular Torghar community, and we have given 287,000 US dollar to the government. And ladies and gentlemen, mind it, government has not invested even a single penny in Torghar area. Despite of that, we are the community, the poor people, and so-called the illiterate people, they have contributed 287,000 US dollars to the exchequer, to the government of Balochistan. So this is other way around that a local community has contributed a significant amount to the exchequer. And so what we did, that we spent the proceeds, and we devised a formula, because when there is the money, there is a conflict. So to avoid the conflict, we went for a formula to ensure the equitable distribution of the resources. And by doing so, then we came up, we went with them, we sat with them, they come up with different schemes and different issues. So, and then these issues were resolved and addressed by the community. There is no any say of Tahir and any manager of the particular area. So the community decided how to spend. So you can see different dams. These are small earthen dams. These are the check dams. These are the different channels constructed by this program. And then we have the livestock program. We trained the veterinary officers. We vaccinated them. Why we vaccinated them? The livestock, because there was a direct clash between the livestock and the wild animals. So we vaccinated, we trained them so that they cannot transmit the disease to the wildlife of Torghar. So that was very, very important. So 100% livestock of the area is vaccinated every year and drenched every year, and the people do that, and people have trained for that. So there should not be any outsider they can hire, they should hire, or they could hire from the market. Then we gave them the seeds, the best variety seeds of different varieties, agriculture varieties. We gave them different fruit trees, and these are the fruit trees of apple, so that they could shift their economy from livestock to agriculture. So just because there might be an issue of carrying capacity in days to come. So we shifted them. So you know, this is a local woman, and then one very, very important thing, that the 100% population of Torgar is insured. Ladies and gentlemen, right from 1 rupees discipline, 1 cent discipline, up to the operation of one of the largest hospitals in Pakistan, and that is called Aga Khan. So 100% population of Torgar is insured, ladies and gentlemen, because of this program, because of trophy hunting program, because of the conservation program. So that's why, because there, you know, the health shocks are these shocks, and so we have insured, we have covered them, and we have provided them the insurance. Then we have also provided them the alternative source of income by engaging them as a wildlife community, wildlife guards. Then definitely education is the biggest problem. My friend from Pakistan, he's working here, Mr. Bilal Sayed, he's also sitting here, and thanks to him that he came with his colleague. So he knows better than me that how severe is the education issue in Pakistan. So what we did, we engaged the teachers, English-speaking teachers from the other areas, and now they're teaching their girl students and their boys in the particular area. We build the capacity by involving the people in vocational trainings, so that they could leave the livestock rearing and they could go to the cities and they can earn their money. We diversify their livelihoods by investing in different vocational trainings. Then definitely develop the linkages with different organizations. Now they have linked with the UNDP, JEF, Medium Grant Project. They have linked with the EU project, EU people, and a lot of investment is also coming from different organizations. Now it's a very, very viable. Now the question may come, how sustainable that would be when we will pull out. We will never pull out, because it's a program of the community, by the community, and for the community. For that, we have also established an endowment fund. So now the endowment fund is also growing, and the day, if there will be any rainy days, they have sufficient amount of money to carry out their program for years, ladies and gentlemen, not for days, but for years. So what are the lessons learned? Lessons learned, number one lesson learned is that the conservation is more than managing the people, managing the needs of the people, than a biological issue. Yes, biologically, you can count the animals, you can manage the animals, but if you want to protect, you want to conserve, make the local people, indigenous people, the custodians of the particular area. Ladies and gentlemen, this is the biggest lesson learned. We have 24 national parks. We have 225 protected areas, but none of the national park and protected area have such amount of animals that only one protected area has in Pakistan, and that is owned by a local community, by an indigenous community. So this is one of the lessons learned. Then second thing, one can talk about the numbers of the animals. Ladies and gentlemen, not a single survey has been conducted by our organization. All the surveys except one were conducted by the US Fish and Wildlife people, and the only single survey that was conducted by the Pakistan government, that was conducted by the IUCN, WWF, Government of Pakistan, and Government of Balochistan. So none of the survey has been conducted by our own organization, so one can assume that we are exaggerating. So the data is very, very authenticated, and data is very, very reliable. So the other thing is that sustainable paradigm has proved that it is a very, very viable use. Very, very viable tool if you want to conserve, you want to protect, you want to take along your protected area and your conservancy, your natural resource. And then definitely the Torgar program has successfully tied with the local people's economic well-being. When you address the economics of the poor people, definitely they will they ensure their full support to you to the program. Mind it, very poor people, maximum 95% are illiterate people, and sometimes the people sitting under this roof will not sit with them because they will say they are sweating and there is a bad smell from their sweat. But these people have made a miracle, and now this is one of the best examples in the world. We got 5 international awards. Awards from the best conservation award from the France, the conservation award from the UK, the conservation award from Thailand, and so on and so forth. And so the world has recognized this Torghar program all over the world. So what are the major issues? Yes, the biggest major issue is the lack of awareness among the policymakers. Thank you very much. Lack of awareness among the policymakers. Though it's a wonderful model, but still we feel certain resistance from the policymakers. Because why it's so? Because when we talk about the conservation protection in Pakistan, everybody give the examples of Torghar. So it is really very, very embarrassing for the government officials when they compare that they have hundreds of protected areas and they have nothing to show, but communities have one protected area, and especially in Balochistan, and that protected area is internationalized now. Weak laws, unfortunately, the last Wildlife Acts of Pakistan does not cater the community protected areas, the indigenous protected areas, but fortunately, all the provinces are revising their acts, wildlife acts, so soon we will have a new acts, and that they will cater the indigenous practices and definitely the community protected areas. And one of the biggest issue we are facing is the erosion of the indigenous practices. I am really happy that they are very much intact here in Australia. They are very much intact in the Latin America, but unfortunately, now we have only one indigenous community left, and that is the Kalashi community that have a very, very intact cultural norms, values, but otherwise these values and practices are eroding with a very fast pace. Then definitely tenure issues, because when there are resources, then a lot of people comes and they try to establish their ownership on that particular tenure, but we are handling with them because now we are a very mature organization. These are certain policy recommendations because now the time limitations. So thank you so much for your time. Thank you for coming for this presentation. And now the forum is open for any question. You're most welcome. Thank you very much.
Okay, we've got a little bit of time for some questions. Right up the back. One second.
Sir.
Thank you for your nice presentation. I'm really impressed with what you're doing in Pakistan. You know that the climate change is having several effects on the ecosystem. What proactive action, proactive measures have you taken in terms of, if climate change, threatens, your water supply, particularly the dam you have built, in case
Yeah.
there is drought for 2, 3, or 4 years and there's no water any longer. So what proactive measures have you taken to ensure that you
Yes, sir.
supply water, to the villagers so that they can always be behind you in this project?
It's a very good question. It's a very good question. And I think what we are doing, that number one, we have a very detailed management plan of the Torghar. And so now what we are doing, we are integrating the community-based adaptation with our management plan. So we are making the community-based adaptation plans, and then these plans will be the part and parcel of the management plans. So by doing so, we will identify what might be the climatic issues in days to come, and then how to resolve them, to address them, because the third world countries, we can't go for the mitigation. We have to adapt, and that's why now we have coined and we are working on the community-based adaptation plans, and then these adaptation plans will be merged with the management plan, and by inshallah by doing so, we will able to tackle if there will be any climatic threat to this particular area.
Okay, I'll just pass it.
Thank you. Esquire, your presentation was excellent.
Thank
but
you.
let me get this clearer explanation from you. You talk about the mark of the animals, right?
Yeah.
At one time, you said they were getting extinct, and then they were able to raise the numbers to a certain number, 3,000 plus or something. You increase the number. You were
Yeah.
able to do a
Yeah,
program that increased
yeah,
the number.
yeah.
But you kept on selling. Don't you think you raised amount of about 1.7 million
Yes.
from it again? Won't you think it will, you're going to run the risk of unsustainability in a few years' time because you are still selling?
No, yes. Again, it's a very good question. We are also working on other options, not only a trophy hunting, because one of the biggest threats for the trophy hunting program in Pakistan is the geopolitical situation. But fortunately, you know, even the conditions in Pakistan are very, very worse for the expats. But you know, you will be happy to note that every year the people from Latin America, Central America, Europe, they go and they visit the area that's only 30 kilometers away from Afghanistan border, even during the war times. So, so we are not only focused. Yes, we are not only we're not only depending on this trophy hunting. That's why we have raised our endowment fund. That's there. The day we will explore other options. For instance, the wonderful tourism area. But for that, we have to wait for what you can say for good conditions that prevails in Pakistan. So we can and we are also planning to other areas. So we are not totally dependent on the trophy hunts only in that particular area. So you yeah, sir.
Just adding on there to help Tahir out a little, that the conservation programs have also, the communities have come into place to reduce poaching.
Yes.
And I think that was the biggest concern in these areas. And when they saw, the community saw the larger numbers of money involved, so they ensured that the poaching was reduced because they themselves helped poaching from people who were not really giving any money in. And when they realized that they could benefit out of this by doing the conservation program of reducing the poaching of animals, so that is how the program has gone forward, and the numbers have also increased over the years.
Let me share one example. Yeah, please. And then I will share the example because just to further the comments of
Thank
Mr.
you.
Bilal.
As you explained about this benefit from this mountain goat and sheep hunting,
Yeah.
1.6 million US dollar owned from the trophy hunting.
Yes.
And paid back to the government 287 US dollar, $1,000 US.
Yes.
What is the legal environment, law,
Yeah.
to share this benefit with the government?
It's a very good question. Very good question. Actually, you know, everybody, perhaps most of the people will know one of the very, very legend politician, Benazir Bhutto. She was a lady, and she was then she was assassinated, unfortunately, a few years back. So she notified a notification that says that it's a legal thing, and the 80% proceeds will go to the community, while the 20% proceeds will go to the government. So the amount given to the government is the 20% that government government of Pakistan has agreed, and now it has been notified. Now it's a legal thing. So that's why we pay 20% to the the provincial governments, and the 80% proceeds rest with the community, and then community decides the fate of that particular 80%, how to use that, where to use that, when to use that, and to whom to use that. So that's totally the prerogative of the community.
Okay, we've got time for one more question.
This question is more about just curiosity.
Sir.
What's the fine line between conservation and preservation?
Yes, actually, you know, when you talk about the conservation and preservation, it's a very important thing. When we talk about the preservation, basically these are with the cultural type of things. When you talk about the cultural diversity, you preserve that. And when you talk about the biological diversity, you conserve that. And number two, when a species is verge of extinction, and then you have to preserve that, and you can take to the zoos, you can take to the different biological labs, and you can have their, you take their tissues, you clone them, so on and so forth. So preservation comes when a species is really at a very verge of extinction. Otherwise, it is used for the protection and conservation of the cultural heritage rather than the biological aspects. So in biologically, is the conservation, is the protection.
Great, thank you so much. We've run out of time, so if everyone could thank Mr. Rashid for his presentation.
Thank you very much. Thank you, and I really appreciate the Government of Australia for sponsoring me. Thank you so much for this opportunity, and thank you so much, ladies and gentlemen, for your time, for your patience, and for coming for this presentation. I thank you so much.